Hey everyone, this is Michelle with Designs by JuJu, and today we are going to be doing a tutorial on the trending now side seam applique bow. So I am super excited about this new release from Designs by JuJu. It's coming to you hot and fresh off the press. So today I'm going to show you a tutorial for how to do this, and it is so easy. You guys are going to absolutely love this project. So I'm so excited to get started. All right, so you're going to need a few items for your project today. And the first thing that I'm going to be using is some adhesive backed tearaway stabilizer. So you can purchase this from most of your sewing and embroidery retailers, but how it comes is just with a sheet of, and you just remove this backing here from the paper, and it's adhesive. So just like that, then it's sticky. So I'm going to be using a self-adhesive tearaway stabilizer, and then I'm also going to be using my 4x4 hoop. So the new bow applique for the side seam comes in 3 sizes. There's a 4x4 size, a small 5x7, and a large 5x7. I will be using the 4x4 size for a 4T toddler sweatshirt that I'm going to be making. You saw a little sneak peek of it at the beginning there. If you are making some adult clothing, whether that's a sweatshirt, a t-shirt, maybe you're doing jeans or a dress, the 5x7 sizes are perfect for that. So it's totally personal preference, what you like and the size that you like. So what we're going to do, we've already got our tearaway stabilizer hooped. So I'm going to go ahead and load that into my machine. And I'm going to run the first stitch. So let me do that now. Okay, so the first stitch that it just ran there is a placement line for your clothing. So I'm going to pull this off of my machine here, and then I am going to place my apparel, whatever I've selected, and I'm going to line the side seam up right down the midline of this. So this line here along the bottom is where the bottom of your bow tails will be. So you want the bottom of your hem to line up along the bottom of this, and then you want the side seam to go directly down the middle of this. So let me do that, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so I just pulled my hoop off the machine, and I quickly lined up that side seam with that initial placement line that I just did. So you can't really see it here, but if I just lift it a little, you can see. So there's the bottom. I lined the bottom of my hem up, and then the midline, you can see right there in the midline, I have it directly in the midline. So a pro tip is if you flip your hoop over and shine it to some light, you can see if you have that side seam lined up. So hold this up to some light and you'll be able to see if your side seam is directly in the middle here. That's a great tip for you. It's something I use quite a bit. Okay, so you're going to load your hoop back onto your machine. And when you load it back on, make sure that the back side of your design is not tucked underneath of the hoop. You need the back side to be completely clear. Otherwise, you're going to end up stitching your apparel together. You'll end up having some of the back of the clothing hooked to it, and you do not want that. Okay, so let me get this finagled back onto my machine. Okay, and this is why I absolutely love the self-adhesive tearaway stabilizer, is it's secure. I'm not worried about it lifting as I'm stitching or puckering. It's nice and secure. If you're using just a traditional tearaway, you are going to want to make sure that this clothing item is taped or pinned or really stuck on there, because it will wiggle otherwise during stitching. Okay, so I'm going to run my next stitch, which is going to be the tack down to secure my sweatshirt to my stabilizer. Okay, so if I remove my hoop here, you can see that the middle, let me finagle it out of here. Here we go. That the middle of the seam. My seam is right here in the middle between my two bow tails. So we're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and load this back into my machine and stitch the next placement lines. Now, this applique bow has the option where you can have 2 colors of applique fabric. So if you want the inner bow to be a different color than the outer bow, you have that option. For my bow today, I'm going to have it be all one color. I'm just doing a gold and black sparkle bow. But if you want those inner bow hoops to be a different color, you have that capability. So let me go ahead and I'm going to skip that stitch and go ahead and run. Well, I will run it. I'll run so you can see what it looks like in case you decide to do that. So give me just a second. Okay, so the first stitches, the first placement lines are stitched right there for the inner hoops of your bow. You can just barely see them. There's 4 of them. So I'm actually going to go ahead and skip the tack down for now because I want to run the outline, the placement line for the whole bow so I know where to put my fabric, and then I will go back and do that tack down for the bow hoops. So give me just a second. Okay, so it just stitched my placement line for the entire bow. So here you can see it goes all the way around, and then I have my 2 bow tails here at the bottom. So I'm going to place my fabric. I'm using this really fun gold shimmer on some black fabric. It's just cotton material is what I'm using. And I'm going to just lay that right over my placement line. And then remember how I skipped the tack down for the bow hoops? I'm going to go back and do those. So I'm going to go back a couple steps, do the tack down for the bow hoops, and then I'm going to skip forward and do the tack down for the entire bow. Okay, so let me do that and we'll check back in. Okay, so both of my tack down stitches are complete. So I'm going to remove my project from the machine, and you can see here is the outer stitches for my bow. And like I said, I went back and did the inner bow tack down as well so that it's all secure. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to use my applique scissors and I am going to trim around the entire bow. Okay, so that's the first step I'm going to do. You want to get close to the fabric, but you don't want to cut the actual stitches. So make sure that you're being very careful as you trim. These curved edge scissors are always recommended. They are so much easier. You can see that they have a curved tip, which allows you to get nice and close to those stitches, but also prevents you from trimming them. It keeps it flat as you stitch. So these are great. If you don't have any of these, I would highly recommend for applique projects. Okay, I'm going to trim this and then I will pop back in. Okay, so I moved it back just a little bit so you could see what this looks like. So I have completely trimmed around the entire applique bow. Now this next step is super important. Before you do the final satin stitches, you want to trim out the inner portion of the bow tails here. That's what's going to get you that adorable side seam split. And the satin stitches that you're about to do will help to secure this fabric so that it doesn't fray. It makes it very durable. It seals in all of those stitches, all of the frayed edges, all of the raw edges, I should say, and it helps it to last and not fray over time. So what I'm going to do, and that's also why it's super important, I should say, that you line up the bow along the bottom, because if you have it higher, when you go to trim, it's going to leave some raw edge. So you want to have it lined up right along the bottom so that no part of your sweatshirt or t-shirt or whatever you're embroidering on has a chance to start fraying and unraveling. That's not what we want to happen with our projects. So I'm going to use these very sharp, again, applique scissors, but they have a very sharp pointed tip. The brand is Kai, and these are great scissors. Let's see if we can get the camera to focus. There we go. These are great. I just get them on Amazon, but I'm going to use them and I'm going to go right in along those tack down stitches and trim it as close as I possibly can. You do not want to cut your stabilizer either. So try to keep your stabilizer intact and just trim right along those edges, just like that. So I'll check back in after I have this step done. Okay, I trimmed out my inner portion here. You can see I'm just going to toss this in the trash. And then since it is a self-adhesive, it's got that sticky back. Of course, you can see I've got all these little linties and things there on my hoop. That's totally fine. Don't worry about any of that. You'll tear away this part anyway. So I've got a nice clean edge on the inner portion of my bow tails. So now I'm ready to put my hoop back on my machine and stitch the final stitch, which is the satin stitch. Okay, so I'm going to load it back up and we will get this last stitch complete. All right, so my satin stitch has just finished sewing. And so you can see here, we've got our nice, beautiful satin stitch. And again, I just want to point it out in case you decide to do 2 colors. So those first stitches we did, those first initial tack down, that would be for these inner bow pieces here and here and here and here. So I just wanted my bow to be all one color. But if you had selected 2 colors, these smaller little loop pieces would be a different color, and then you'd have your main bow all be the same. So I just did 1 color. So you can already see here with my tearaway stabilizer that just stitching it, I'm trying to get that there, has already started to perforate the stitches. And that's what makes tearaway stabilizer so nice for projects like this, because now we can just unhoop it and it should tear away relatively easily. So since it's a self-adhesive one, like I said, it has that sticky back, I'm going to have to kind of pull it away from my hoop, and then I can tear it away. So let me do that and I'll come right back. Okay, now that I've got it removed from the hoop, I can use those nice fine edge scissors again that I was talking about, that super sharp tip Kai scissor, and or any nice fine point that you have. And I'm going to gently trim away this excess tearaway stabilizer. Again, this part you just need to be super careful because you do not want to cut your satin stitches. So I'm going to go in, do that, and then we'll see what it looks like. All right, there we go. I have trimmed up the loose tearaway stabilizer in the inside of my bow tails, and here's my completed project. So I have 1 bow on each side of her side seams. You could definitely do 1 if you didn't want to, but these are so cute and they are going to be so fun, especially for the holiday season. Can you imagine the adorable Christmas sweaters you could do with these cute bows? They would be perfect for sportswear. Oh my goodness, so many fun ideas. Make sure that you join the Designs by JuJu Blessings Facebook group where you can share your own ideas. We'd love to see what you make, and I know there are going to be tons of great projects being showcased with these awesome new side seam applique bows. So we can't wait to see what you guys make. See you soon. Thanks.